I mean, I've come to a point where if I have old clothes, I either make sure that I know where it's personally going to, like which person is actually wearing it, whether it's a known person or an unknown person, or I like cut it into something and like upcycle it into a different piece. I, as a designer, sort of have the liberty to do that, and I know that not everybody has access to it, but I genuinely think that again, if people start going to tailors to get their work done,
Mhm.
personally looking into upcycling the pieces, it's a culture in India that's always been there. Like, sort of making your own clothes, buying fabric, going to a tailor, getting it stitched. It's a very, very common culture here till now. It's going down with time because ready-made fashion and fast fashion is taking over. But still, there are a lot of people who prefer that. So I think if people sort of upcycle their clothes, like recycle their clothes in that manner, instead of just giving it away, where it's going for a waste, it can make a huge difference.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the New Oceans podcast. This is Flavio, and I'll be your host. I'm really excited today to have the privilege of having our first guest from India, Chennai. She is passionate about fashion, and from an early age, she knew that one day she'd build her own clothing brand. She's a fashion, beauty, and lifestyle blogger who also has a YouTube channel full of fashion advice, beauty guides, and tutorials. She's the founder of SHUSH, a contemporary handcrafted clothing brand made on demand for you in India. I'm really happy to welcome Sushmita, aka Miss Pink Shoes, to our podcast today.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sushmita Agarwal. First of all, thank you so much for having me here and for this
Of course.
opportunity. It's great connecting with you. So I'm 25 years old, born and brought up in Chennai, India. As you said, I've been passionate about fashion ever since I was a kid, and I always knew what I wanted to do. So growing up, I've been really, really passionate about styling as well, and that is why I started my blog when I was 18 years old in college by the name misspinkshoes. So it's been about 7 years since I've been blogging, 6 to 7 years. And around a month ago, I started my clothing brand called Shush. So I design my own clothes, and the idea behind the brand is to make clothes on order basis. So basically, the whole idea of sustainability is, a little too, all over the place. Sometimes people just don't understand. To me,
Mhm.
sustainability is ensuring that you make the best of what you have and avoid as much wastage as possible. And that's sort of like the crux of Indian upbringing. I mean, we always find ways to make things work in the smallest possible resources. So with my brand, I wanted to make sure that it's a clothing brand that people can relate to, that people can access anytime. But at the same time, I didn't want to have the whole textile industry comes with a huge amount of dead stock and wastage, and
Yes.
textile industry is like the third biggest producer of wastage in the world. So the main thing comes from the whole dead stock aspect of it. So I wanted to make sure that I make clothes on order. So I don't have dead stock. I'm not wasting product. And any kind of waste fabric, the smallest amount of it is reused into a mask, is reused in, pockets in some way or the other. So we bring down the wastage as much as possible.
Wow, really great. So you design all of the clothes as well to make sure there's as
Yes,
little waste as
yes.
possible.
Yes. So when we design the clothes, also we sort of use upcycled fabric, old fabric, or fabric that hasn't, if it's not really sellable commercial because of various reasons, we get faulty fabrics, we
Mhm.
get samples that we don't end up using later. So whenever we make our sample dresses, we do any kind of experimentation. We make sure that we use those kind of fabrics, and we still make wearable pieces out of the samples. So I can personally use them, or people who work with me or my staff, it's used somewhere or the other. So no piece that's made, even if it's a a smallest sample for a crop top or something really small, we make sure that it's used somewhere or the other. There is no wastage happening. I can't say like there's zero wastage, but it's as less as we can make it.
Yeah, that's really great. I think that's very important, definitely, because we obviously also work a lot with waste, and we do our maximum to make sure that all of the
Yeah,
offcuts, right? Because obviously in fashion, there's a lot of offcuts all the time, and finding a
right.
way to reuse these, whether they're little bits of sandal for us or bits of clothing for you. I think the mask is definitely a good idea now. That's a handy
Yeah,
way to use
exactly.
offcuts.
And all my masks actually come with a chain. So that is an idea that I came up with, not just for practicality, but actually for recycling the smallest bits of fabric. So basically, each mask comes with a tiny little string which is made out of fabric. So you can just hang it around your neck. It's very convenient. It's very user friendly, and at the same time, every small bit is again being used into those strings, because we can use as many tiny bits as possible and make a cool string out of it, design wise, practically wise. It just works out.
Yeah.
So that's also one thing that we did that with the brand, that to make sure that again wastage comes down even more.
No, that's really great. Obviously, because China, sorry, not China, India is a huge clothes producer, so it's a huge hub for
Yeah.
fashion in the world, and not always sustainable. So, how has it been for
Mhm.
you to start in this obviously hub where there's so much fashion going on already, but taking the sustainable small brand route? How's that been?
So, Touchwood, I've actually been extremely lucky because, as I mentioned, I've been blogging for about 6, 7 years. I've had a loyal set of people who've been following me. They've sort of seen me grow up on social media. I was around 18, 19 when I started my blog, and now I'm 25. So,
Yes.
they've seen me go from college to do my master's to, do internships, run around, have a tough life, and finally now getting somewhere, finally launching my brand and doing what I've always wanted to do. So I have this connect with people, which I feel that I'm really grateful and lucky to have. So the initial, when I launched, I had such an overwhelming response, something that I really didn't expect. And people actually understood what I was doing. It is still a journey because I've just started. And now also I do get complaints from customers that, why do you take so long to ship the products? But they need to
Yes.
know that it's because we make everything to order. And then they're like, why is it expensive? But then I'm like, no, we are having people hand make it. The reason why we don't do mass production is because we want to, pay the labor what they actually deserve. In fashion, especially whenever you enter a factory, it's filled with underpaid staff who are working like overworking, and these big multinational companies make millions out of them. But
Yes.
that takes away. That's basically their bread and butter, and they literally labor. They put their blood and sweat into it. So we hand make every piece, and we make sure that each labor gets what they deserve for the number of hours they put in. And that is why the garments also come with a certain price. It's all because we are trying to create a more sustainable livelihood, not just for people who are buying from us, but also the people who are actually creating the products, because I am nothing without the people who actually make my
Yeah,
clothes.
of course. Now that's super important because as you're saying, traditional fashion is not just an environmental disaster, it's also a social disaster.
Yes,
When you see
exactly.
how brands like Primark or even Nike, these huge multinationals, how they treat people,
Hmm.
that's really not acceptable, I think, in today's modern society. So it's important to do what you say, to pay people properly and treat them decently. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, when it comes to the kind of clothes that we make, the kind of packaging that we do, the kind of design that we do, we try and create clothes that are fresh, that are new, but at the same time, they have wearability, they have accessibility, they're timeless pieces that you can wear now, or you can even wear like 5 years later. So even if they're trend pieces or season pieces or pieces that come and go, limited editions or whatever, they're still pieces that you can wear after 5 years and still make it look fresh and cool. So again, bringing down the aspect of every brand tries to make you buy new clothes, but we
Yes.
sort of tell people that invest in one piece but wear that piece 10 times in 10 different ways. So I want to sell people that experience as well, to really explore and be creative, because I also personally feel fashion for me is a creative let out. This is where I show myself. It's self expression also. And I think if everybody takes that one extra minute to dress up in the morning, it can really change their day. So that's also something that we bring in from the brand to sort of inculcate that confidence into everybody, and again, not burn a hole into your pockets.
Yes, no, that's definitely great advice, and it ties really well into my next question because I wanted to ask you,
Hmm.
what would be your top
Hmm.
three pieces of advice for someone who wants to shop for fashion without hurting
Hmm.
people or the planet?
So always look for locally made products. Like I know I'm a blogger who's been promoting every sort of brand for the last 5, 7 years. But as I said, I've grown up on social media, and over the last 1 year, I've really been leaning towards homegrown brands. People, who I around me are making clothes. And even when I'm working with, like, even if I'm buying clothes from a brand, a lot of these big multinational companies now have a conscious range, or have a range which is more locally made or collaborated with a local person, gravitating more towards those kind of lines. That will sort of help in boosting people who are around you, supporting small
Yes.
businesses, which will in turn make them bigger businesses. And that is how I feel even the economy will grow, and overall the standard of living will also come up, because
Hmm.
right now it's I know it's a saying as old as time, but the richer are getting richer and the poorer are
Yes.
getting poorer. So economically also there's this complete imbalance, and I really feel like the biggest thing, supporting homegrown brands, being willing to invest into those pieces, paying the labor. These are two ways in which I really think that, there can be a difference that is made. And when, another thing that people, not while shopping, but when they already have existing stuff, it's not really discarded properly. Like, people just either throw
Yes.
it away, or even if they want to donate it, they don't donate it in the right way and it ends up in trash. I know so many orphanages who receive like tons of clothes which have like party wear stuff, and stuff that is, your people are not comfortable wearing, and it just ends up
Mhm.
in trash. So that adds to the waste again. So it's not just about, just donating it. It has to be, recycled also in a proper way. Either way, actually gifting it to somebody, or selling it, reselling it, or, thrifting it, or whatever. So I think these are like ways in which we can really, actually make some sort of a difference. It's a small start, but it has a bigger future.
Yes, for sure. I think as you said, it has to come from the bottom up, from all of us. Definitely supporting brands that are making things locally, so people are paid properly and the materials don't have to travel so far. And wearing longer is also something you said, and I think that's definitely something that we all need to get better at, because throwaway culture is just not the way forward anymore. It just can't
Hmm.
continue that way. And
Yes.
definitely the recycling. I think it's important for people to realize that just because you throw something away, it doesn't disappear, and just because you put it in a recycling bin doesn't mean it's recycled. It's
It's actually recycled. Yes,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, I've come to a point where if I have old clothes, I either make sure that I know where it's personally going to, like which person is actually wearing it, whether it's a known person or an unknown person, or I like cut it into something and like upcycle it into a different piece. I, as a designer, sort of have the liberty to do that. And I know that not everybody has access to it, but I genuinely think that, again, if people start going to, tailors to get their work done,
Mhm.
personally looking into, upcycling the pieces. It's a culture in India that's always been there, like, sort of making your own clothes, buying fabric, going to a tailor, getting it stitched. It's a very, very common culture here till now. It's going down with time because ready-made fashion and fast fashion is taking over, but still there are a lot of people who prefer that. So I think if people sort of upcycle their clothes, like recycle their clothes in that manner, instead of just giving it away where it's going for a waste, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I think we don't have really that culture anymore. I think if you go to a
Yeah.
tailor, say in London, for example, all the tailors they'll make you a
Yeah.
suit. They'll make you a suit, but I
Yeah.
don't think they'll
Yeah.
they'll update
Yeah.
your latest jumper or
Yes,
something like that.
exactly. But here it works so differently. Like you take like, I'm sure you know what a sari is. So you take sari, which is
Yes.
basically like a 5.5 meter of fabric, and people always upcycle them into outfits. Like it's sort of like a culture thing here, where every mother has these beautiful saris which have been stored for like 20 years, and then they decide not to wear it anymore, and we daughters convert them into like dress, like outfits out of them, and actually wearable pieces that you can wear nicely. And again, saris is one thing that's so predominant in Indian culture. It's the best piece to own. You can
Mhm.
recycle that, wear it for generations. Like I have a sari which has been passed down in my family for like I think 40 years. Like
Wow.
my mom's grandmother wore it. Yeah, my mom's grandmother wore the sari. So we still have it with us. And I mean, it's upcycling at its best. Like it still exists and it's still being used.
Yes, for sure. I think that definitely the best thing to do before looking at recycling is definitely upcycling, because there's a lot of materials that
Yes.
can just be reused, and we don't need to use
Yeah.
complex processing for sure. Now, I was wondering, because obviously we've all around the world, whether it's the UK, Australia, India, wherever it is, we've all been dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic in different ways.
Hmm.
And we've all learned different
Hmm.
lessons. And what do you think is the main lesson that you've learned from this past year?
This past year gave me a lot of time to reflect upon myself. Of course, with the whole, quarantining, we spent a lot of times in our homes, most of the times
Yes.
alone. Even if we live, whether we lived with family or lived without family, we spent a lot of time cooped up with our own thoughts. I personally had COVID fear thrice, so I was properly quarantined 3 times.
Oh
So
wow.
at that point, also, I had a lot of time to think. So initially it did take a toll on me. It was a little difficult to, adjust. But one thing that I've realized generally with life is that every time you're put into a like in a hard situation, you always come out of it much stronger. And that's what I feel that this pandemic has done to people in general. That we were put in such an unpredictable situation where nobody knew what's going to happen. And I frankly think even now we don't know what's going to happen next. So it's all like it's taught me how to make the best of what you have right now. And always believe that no matter what it is, you can come out of it and you can push ahead, you can push forward. Because my brand, as like just like you said, because of COVID your plans were sidelined. Same way,
Yes.
my brand Shush was supposed to launch last year in 2020, March or April,
Mhm.
and COVID hit right then. So everything just fell apart. And at that point, I did feel like my life dream was sort of, coming to an end. But actually, that time gave me a lot more time to work on it and, do it in a much better manner.
Yes.
So, I mean, as they say, everything happens for a reason. So, this personally for me has been a very big learning experience. It taught me a lot, and I saw the best version of myself, and I feel like I can, keep working on myself and be a self-contained person. It's
Mhm.
really taught me to be very independent and self-contained. Like I've really learned that over COVID.
Yes, right. I get that. So not only independent, but also resilient, I think is something that comes across from what you've been saying, because obviously COVID was a big blow for a lot of us, and definitely for you as well. And despite that,
Yeah,
you managed to get up and get moving again. And that's something that fits really well in the sustainable conversation, because all
right.
of us little sustainable brands, we need to be resilient, just like the
Hmm.
ecosystems we depend on. We need to be resilient if we're gonna survive all together, because it's a big challenge that we're facing, environmental and social, that
Hmm.
if we don't change now and we don't move ahead despite the challenges, we're not going to be able to solve any of these huge challenges we're dealing with.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Agreed completely.
Good. Now, let's say we were, picture yourself quite a few years down the line at I don't know exactly, but let's say 40, 50 years down the line, and you're looking back now on your life and you're thinking,
Hmm.
I've really done what I wanted to do in the world. What would you
Hmm.
say that big impact, or that main impact, or what's the one thing you want to look back on your life and say, that's the impact I want to leave on the world?
I've always been a very happy person. Like, I mean, if someone asks me to describe myself, I'd be like, I'm a happy person. And I just want I feel like I just want to put a smile on somebody's face. I know it sounds very cheesy, but I mean, I've always wanted to, have people smile, and not just because I'm doing something, but they should feel happy all time. And it has like it's very deep rooted where it comes from, being confident, being self-reliant, and just being independent overall. That true happiness, that contentness. I feel like if I could make somebody feel that, or if I
Mhm.
could just make people feel that everything's going to be fine and everything is fine, I think that's the kind of impact I want to have on somebody.
No, that's great. I think it's not cheesy at all. It's definitely very very authentic from the way you are, and from everything you've done and how you've built your brand, thanks to a following that you've built over 7 years. No, you're still very young for everything you've accomplished. So it's really impressive, and
Thank you.
and it's really beautiful to see, because obviously I think over where we are, we don't see as much what is going on in countries in India, because there's not that much coverage. And we just see stuff like farmer protests, or the government doing this or that. So
Right.
it's hard to see what the people really are like and what the people are really doing. And that's why it's so great to have you today and get a sense of the kind of change and individuals and really stories that are coming out of your side of the
I
world.
mean, see, I understand the kind of stigma also that comes with being an Indian or being from this part of the world. But at the end of the day, we are all humans made of the same
Yes.
flesh and bone, coming from the same place. I mean, we belong to different geographical locations. And of course, upbringing, culture, there is such a vast difference. But that doesn't change the fact that we are all humans who are made of emotions, who need the same things: air, water, shelter to survive. And I mean, it's just a different way of living life. But there's that's all there is. It's just a different way of living life. We are just like you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I feel a part of our country and is not really seen because there's so many bigger issues that are being focused on. But yeah, the lifestyle here is really, really different from the way it's been portrayed on the media, or the kind how internationally it's been portrayed.
Totally. No, it's really great to get a real sense from someone like you. That's really amazing. Now, before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to add or some content you want to share, something you're up to? Obviously, there's your brand you just talked about, but do you have anything in particular you want people to know about and be able to go check out?
Right. I mean, so I would just like to say that as like I am a content creator who creates like fashion related content, but I also make it really entertaining. So I mean, if you're somebody who's like super interested in seeing styling stuff, watching entertaining stuff, because I want to make sure that whatever information also I'm giving is shown in an entertaining way, and it's done in a very Bollywood masala way also at times. So I mean, if you're a sucker for entertainment and love fashion, I mean, my Instagram profile is going to be super fun to watch. So you should totally check that out, which is by the name misspinkshoes. And we do, like, my brand, although it's a homegrown brand, we do ship internationally as well. So www.wearshush.com is my website, where we make simple, beautiful clothes, which I'm sure you'll love. We have a very big size range. We cater to a very large crowd. We make plus sizes also. And I mean, no matter what your size is and your style is, you'll find something there. So yeah, do check us out. And yep, that's I guess it.
No, that's really great. Thank you so much. Definitely, I think anyone in our audience who wants to learn a little bit more or see Sushmia's stuff, it's really really great. It's all on YouTube, so you
Thank
can
you.
go YouTube or
Yeah,
Instagram, Miss Pink Shoes. It's as the word sounds. Just type that in, or We Are Shush is the brand.
yeah,
Shush, that's
yeah,
SHUSH for anyone who wants to check it out. So make sure you go give it a look.
yeah. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having me. It was great talking to you.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on. It was great having you today. And everyone
Yeah.
else, I will
Thank
see
you.
you in the next episode. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye bye.